This is just a bit of stuff on my ongoing evaluation of the Ryobi P514 system. And this is just my testing this P514 reciprocating saw with a Diablo pruning blade. And it's so far proven very effective at culling at least small weed trees, although I've cut down some trees up to about 4 inches in diameter with it. Although I wouldn't really recommend doing that because it increases the chance of the blade binding down. And whenever the blade binds, it really seems to suck down the battery, even this P108. Which I got because I also recently acquired a one of their OnePlus circular saws for really cheap, and they really need one of these high capacity batteries in order to be worth anything. Although it still has about half a charge after performing many dozens of cuts. Because that's one pile of tree trunks. They're not very big trees, obviously. Those piles of the branches and the tree crowns and whatnot. And here's another pile. Of course, not all of this with this particular battery or blade. Some of this I cut with the original wood blade, because when you get the saw, it comes with two fairly cheap Chinese blades. One wood and one metal. Although I've whacked down, I think, 30 or 40 odd trees by now with this thing, and it seems to be fairly effective. Although one thing is that these pruning blades, which are far better than the stock blades, they're about $5 each single, or hang on, they're about $5 each individually, or a 3-pack of them, or no, a 5-pack of them is $15. But the thing is that these are patterned on a more typical typical bow saw blade, and as a result, they can have problems cutting through really thick stuff, because this being a reciprocating saw, the stroke's only about 1 inch long. And so what I've found to be effective is if you move the saw in and out of the cut, which helps clear the swarf from the blade gullets. If you have no idea what any of that means, you know that these things are probably called, focus, you know that all of those things are called teeth. But the gaps in between them are what are known as gullets. And the swarf is the sawdust. Although technically the swarf is any bits of the substrate that you're cutting that get cut out of it. Yeah, it seems to be a fairly decent performer, especially with this battery. Although these are very expensive. This one's about, retails $100. And the saw is about $50, which isn't bad for Home Cheapo reciprocating saw. It's actually the cheapest one they carry. And but yeah, it's fairly effective, and definitely preferable to what I've seen their OnePlus chainsaw do. Because one advantage of this is that also you don't need to oil it, so that's one less consumable you need. And the obligatory cat, because this is the internet and cats are everywhere. Here's an example of a test cut. It's ordinary, though it doesn't take anywhere near as long as this, but normally I use both hands with this saw. Yeah. Generally, small stuff like this, which is only about 1.5, 2 inch diameter trunk tree. Normally they'll only take a couple of seconds to cut through, if you're using both hands. yeah, that's more representative of a cut speed. Yeah, fairly effective. And one thing you want to be careful with, especially with these high capacity batteries, is not bogging down the saw, because you can see there's a couple of marks on the actual power contacts there where it's sort of inadvertently welded, and there's similar marks on the contacts inside the saw. That's just one thing to be careful of, and that's one reason why there's the trend towards ever higher operating potentials with regards to cordless electric, especially high power stuff like these kinds of saws and things like chainsaws, weed whackers, lawnmowers, etc. Is that because, and of course this is DC, so the potential times current equals power thing holds, is that for a given amount of power you get out of a tool, if you double the potential, the current halves. So, or conversely, for the same current and increasing the potential gets you more power. So that's one thing, because again, these contacts aren't super great. These things usually aren't, and dedicated connectors would be, but that would involve a two-stage thing where you'd have a specially designed electrical connector and some means of mechanical retention inside the saw. So for the purposes of convenience, at the expense of things like I2R losses, because with lots of heavy use the tops of these things can get pretty hot, what they do is they just have a mechanical retention and connection all in one thing. Although some tools employ, either it's the tool or the battery, employ a series of kind of like fast-on connectors, and then there's matching where one of the two, either the tool or the battery has the blades, and then the corresponding part of it, either the battery or the tool, has the contact assemblies that grab onto the blades. But not many do that, and that's probably all kinds of patenting and whatnot. But whatever.